Hello and welcome to the Community Showcase, which is a new video format where one of you, the subscribers, will be able to show and talk us through your productivity setup, as well as presenting some challenges you have with it, so that at the end of the video, you'll get some feedback from me personally, but also an invitation to you, the viewer, to respond to this video through a comment and leave your suggestions, so that in the end, every one of us will leave this video feeling either inspired or more knowledgeable. We perhaps finally see someone we can truly identify with, because so far my videos have mostly been more generic. How to use tool ABC for a specific productivity method, for example. But now you're getting some first-hand accounts of how real people are running their productivity setups day to day. The video will basically consist of two parts. The first part being a spotlight on one of you, showing and walking us through your setup. And the second part will contain a summary of that walkthrough, as well as my advice and a call to action to also give your input. If you want to participate in one of these videos in the future, I'll leave a link in the description with a form that you can fill out to submit your productivity setup details and feedback you would like to receive on it. I hope you enjoy.
My name is Nolan Lockhart. I am a husband. I've been married for 16 years. I'm a father. I have six was a 15-year-old, a 12-year-old, and I have a 1-year-old. I'm also a minister over at the body here in Virginia. I am also a track coach. So I'm also an athlete. I'm an active track coach. So I run with kids, and I'm 45 years old. And as you can see, my life has been, I have lots of active parts, moving parts. We sold our home. I live with my my mother and my father. My mother has dementia. So my wife has quit her job also, so she takes care of my mother full time. And my father is crippled. So I take care of my father full time. I work at a distribution center. I've been there for 14 years. I just got out of a deputy sheriff position. I've been a deputy sheriff for 10 years. So I've had a pretty wide expanse. My day consists of getting up at 3 a.m., going to work, getting off at work at 3 a.m., going directly to track practice. My son runs track also. I do track practice till 5. I come home, spend some time with my 1-year-old and my daughter, and then I spend some time with and that goes on for 4 days, just like that. And on my off time, I'm a gamer. I like to play video games, and I like to do sports activities and family events. My productivity for me has always been about doing more. But as I grew older, now that I'm 45, turning 46, it's about making the most out of the time that I do have. Trying to rescue some of the time that I do have. I'm losing a lot. It's not enough for me now to measure, checking off doing laundry. It's not enough for me now to checking off, checking the mail. I'm connected to persons through my church. I'm connected through persons through my family. I'm connected through persons through the kids that I'm coaching at the school. These people mean a lot to me. So it's not just about little check marks and things. For me, it's about connecting with people and making their lives better.
It's beautiful, man. It sounds like you've received plenty of blessings with a beautiful family, but
Oh,
also
yes.
obviously some challenges, of course, with the
Yes.
health situations and all that. And you and your family are doing your very best to manage that as well as you can. In addition to your job, of course, the track training and all that, in the productivity world, we call all those different things, we call them areas of focus.
Yes,
And
sir.
it
Yes,
sounds like
sir.
what you have is a lot of varied areas of focus that you are trying your
Yes.
best to distribute your
Yes.
time into, your
Yes.
attention. But like everybody else, you've only got 24 hours in the day,
Yes.
in dire need to have a system that ensures you can allocate enough resources to all of those focus areas
Yes.
so they get the
Yes.
attention, the love, the energy that they need.
Yes.
And from what you're saying, I'm hearing a lot of effort has gone into it already, right? You're already using different tools, which you will look at in a moment, but you're
Yeah.
also on a what sounds like a tight schedule that you've created for yourself to ensure that time is spent well. But you're also, like you've said, seeing some potential areas of improvements where you want to save more time because every minute basically counts, as well as having a sort of connection with each other or from the various what they are called horizons of focus. So instead of just
Yes.
having a simple to-do list and that's it, you want to see perhaps how much time and effort and tasks am I actually allocating to all of those focus areas, correct?
Yes. Yes. Lucas, I think it was one of your interviews that really got me to change my mindset about how I approach productivity. I read a lot, right? I read about 4 books a month, and I do a lot of audio listening too. This year I did 60 books. The thing that really impacts me the most now that I'm coming into is get things done.
Mhm.
That is the method that I've been using. But I'm now focused more on capturing memories. And maybe it's because my mother has dementia. She's 63 and she's young to be at a stage 3 dementia where she doesn't know who I am.
Mhm.
Now I'm trying to capture everything. And that was the attractive thing for the building the second brain mythology. Even though I don't capture all of that per se the way that Forte does, I do believe in having all of your resources in one place. For me, is great when I can just look at one app and being able to just kind of like pull from it pulls from everything from one place. That helps me a lot. But my biggest issue now is that you're right. Since I am on a time frame, and since I work on a strict diet when it comes to my time currency, I have to look at a calendar, and I have to sort out my time because my time is precious. And then there are hierarchies. My wife is priority. She gets priority.
Mhm.
My children are next. The church, is next, and then everything else falls under. But if I don't prioritize and time block these things, they won't get done. But at the same time, Lucas, I don't want to run such a strict time frame that I can't leave a door open for accidents and for God happenings and for life to hit me to
Right.
where if I'm knocked off my schedule, then all of a sudden I can't get back right. So, I had to look at smaller focuses and enjoy smaller things, man.
I hear what you're saying, where you have a strict schedule, but you also wanna be a bit more nimble and flexible for
Yes.
when life hits you, and I feel like, a strict schedule has a lot of power, but a strict schedule is also a fragile, right?
Yes, 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 it
Yeah,
is.
I'm sure
Yes, it
you've
is.
experienced that as well.
Lucas, one of the first ones I use is it's going to be a little bit out of the norm, but one of the first ones I use is called 1 second every day. I have been using it since the app's construction, from its birth, from its beta. I put into it. I've delegated some resources into it, and I've got my children from the ages of. He's 15 now. I got him since he was the age of maybe about 5, and I have taken 1 second pictures a day of my family for the last 10 years almost, and
Wow.
it has been amazing. And in 7 minutes you could see the birth and growth of your family, and it is absolutely amazing. And it shows that if we were just to put 1 second away every day, that 1 second, and the brain is so amazing. It goes back. You can remember what you had on. You can remember that moment. You can remember where you were at all in that 1 second. So that was one of the first primary apps that I've used. I
Wow.
still use it today. I am also an Apple guy, not because I'm a fanboy, it's because I am old, and I can't keep switching on to the different generations of Google. Google has evolved over the years, and their platforms and their Android, I mean, has evolved, and their platform and their technology is just incredible. But I'm slower, I'm older, so I stick with the Apple ecosystem. So Apple Notes and Apple Reminders were the pinnacle things where I kept your resources. I did Evernote, but I dropped off of Evernote. What I do is I have to use MindNote first. I capture everything through reminders. Why? I'm a nomad. I don't use any laptops. I don't
Mm.
have time to sit at home, to sit down at a computer and to think. I know that's bad. I have time to meditate, but when I do meditate and when I do pray, I try to do it away from electronics. I
Mm.
try to do it in open spaces. I live in Virginia. We have woods here. So I go out in the woods and stuff. So that's great. But I'm a nomad, so I do everything off the phone. Everything off the phone. and I capture everything through my Apple Notes, Apple Reminders, and I capture it off my watch. And speaking to my watch, I said, "Remind me to do this. Remind me to do that." I capture it as soon as it comes to as soon as it comes to my mind. That's my first thing. My second portion of that is that when I do have time to sit down at a cafeteria or somewhere, I unpack those things through a app called MyNode. And MyNode allows me to break these things down into structures. Now, MyNode is branches. It branches off into different things. So if I say something like a track meet, then it'll go short distance, long distance, then it goes to the events, and then it goes to the runners. And then each of the events will have the fastest times and qualifying times and goals. I deliberate that all in my node. Now,
Mm.
I wish there was an app. I think that I can do this in TickTick. TickTick, I love TickTick. It's I think TickTick I could do everything in, but it's ugly to me. I mean, I
You're not
mean,
wrong.
yeah, I don't I look at these other notes like things three and all this. I'm like, man, this is beautiful, but TickTick is just ugly to me, and I really want to feel good about the. That's why we put icons and stuff on it, right? We put icons and we put backgrounds, and that's
Emojis,
why I do that.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, because we want to feel good about accomplishing these things. But yeah, after I break these things down, I put dates on them. And after I put dates on them, I put them in a calendar. Now I run my life off of a calendar. All right. I've put things like in the calendar, like times I got sick, people's birthdays, special events and occasions, and I put them on auto cycle.
Mhm.
And people will think that you are a genius when you remember things of their life, like, oh, you purchased a house on this day, and they forgot they purchased a house on that day. So they it's
It's
these are
such a
things that
powerful way to improve any type of relationship, and it's
yes,
a simple but extremely powerful sort of life hack, if you will. I agree.
it
I
is.
feel so good as well myself being able to quote unquote remember. I don't remember. Just last week, I got a reminder of a friend's birthday. It wasn't on my mind at all. I didn't remember it at all, but I didn't forget because, yeah, my reminder made sure I texted him on
Yeah,
time and
yeah,
and congratulated him.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I try to, and you can help me out with here because it feels like sometimes I'm all over the place. But there's only three formats that I really do. That is capturing everything and putting it in reminders,
Mm,
then breaking these things down also to in MindNode and making them into projects. And I am infatuated, brother, with time management. Now, this has nothing to do with anything. I'm using a time logger pro,
mhm,
and I've been using it since its beta too. I'm able to see how much time I'm able to spend. They do this in TikTok
mm,
also too, which I need to learn how to implement. But I'm able to just sit back and have a weekly review about how much time I'm spending. And I'll be like, yo, I didn't spend that much time with my daughter this week, or I didn't spend too much time, or I spent so much time playing pool, or, you know, and that makes the difference for me about where I'm spending my time at too. I have played with TickTick. I love TickTick. I think it will do everything I'm asking. It's just ugly to me. The biggest problem I'm having is at the end of the day, Lucas, I want to look at my platform in my life and said, I got this accomplished. And
mhm.
not only did I want to do that, but I want to go back and have a reflection on the day and says, this is what I do. Because I'm an athlete, I even monitor it. Uh, this is an aura ring here.
Yeah, cool.
It captures your heartbeat, your rhythm. So it captures your sleep. I capture my food intake as far
Mhm.
as what I eat in a day, how many calories I gotta eat. I know it seems like a mess, but maybe I'm just a statistic whore. I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, I really want to look at my life and say the things that were meaningful I attended to. Not
Right.
just saying, "Oh, I got laundry done." We all gonna get those things done. But did I do the hard things today? Did I call the person that I didn't want to call?
Mm,
Did I go to the place that I really wanted to go to, or did I speak to the person that I didn't really want to speak to today? Did I do the one thing, or did I do the 99 things that I could have done later? You know?
mhm.
And those are the things that I really need to challenge. And I'm having a hard time of finding an end of day review. I
I
can
see.
check things off all the time, But
Right.
yeah, that's what I'm
Right.
having issues with. Yes.
Having a reviewing functionality to look back on the end of the day and not just see which checkbox did I tick off, but on a more fundamental level. It sounds like from what you said, you embrace discomfort. You try to sort of overcome yourself, that internal resistance that you feel for certain things that you don't really want to do, but you know they're good and important. And did I do that thing instead of the 99 other
Yeah.
things that are easy, right? And having an app to
Yeah.
feed you those questions, even. What I'm also hearing, you are truly mobile. You don't use, or at least don't prefer to use the computer. You need to be able to do all these things on your
Yes.
phone
Yeah.
because of how mobile you are. And that definitely
Yeah.
adds a bit of extra challenge, though I don't think this is something we cannot overcome. And I also think there are many people like you who are facing similar challenges, who also don't have time. Like I'm lucky in a sense because I do most of my work on the computer. I am a lot more kind of locked into this larger screen here, so to speak. And most of my
Mm.
tutorials and my videos also have a major portion dedicated to the desktop elements. But this helps me also
Mhm.
realize, hey, there's probably a lot more people like you, Nolan, who are, you know, mobile first. I do have two questions. The first
Yes.
is, you mentioned using GTD as your productivity method, of course, and I hear a lot of that back in what you
Yes.
said, including the capturing portion, especially. How do you bring that, you try to prioritize by focus area? How do you use contexts in relation to tasks?
Yeah. Here's how I use context. If it's groceries or something of that matter, I use location based.
Mhm,
So I have to put the location in there, and once I get to the location, which I know that I'm gonna get to the location, I'll get the ping to go off. But as far as the context, I still use a priority first spectrum. It's kind of
mhm,
old school to say that this is priority, this is not priority kind of way of doing it. I used to really, Lucas, I used to be so detailed. I was a traditionalist, David Allen. I used to go through and says, all right, when I'm in the office or when I'm in here, and then this is the level of importance, and this is this. But going through all of those steps for me, it just took too much time.
mhm.
You know, it
I
just
hear
it
you.
just warped up too much time. I started changing my diet, as to say, for time management through Sorted 3, which introduced hyper scheduling, where you schedule by the amount of time and not by the context in a sense. So therefore, give me an example. Say I got to work out. It's going to take me an hour to work out. Boom, 60 minutes. All right, I got to go to track practice. It's going to be an hour working out plus 20 minutes of drive. That means I'm have to. This is called, of course, time blocking. Time is my greatest currency. So I delegate my task versus the time that I have, and not versus the priority. Now, there are certain things that are priorities, but I have to fit them within the perimeter of time, and I have to make time for it. So what happens is that until I started looking at things not from context, but from time, then I wouldn't overschedule my day because I would
Mhm,
have 1,000 things on my schedule to do. And I was like, okay, and they will all be meaningful things, take the wife out, spend some time with my son, spend some time with my mother. And then I will be conquered at the end of the day because my time deliberation was not feasible. It just
mhm,
wasn't done for that time. So now when I go into my preview for the day, I look at, okay, this needs to be done. Like, I do need to spend time. I go on my reviews and say, hey, I spent some time with my wife today. I'll steal some time here. And you have to shuffle up some things, but it cannot be back to back. I cannot do these things back to back because a kid might break their leg. My father might fall down the steps. Something might happen to where
mhm,
that there's going to be some time that as a father, I love it because I'm at this point in my life to where I'm grateful for family, but it does pull on you because I am by nature an introvert, believe it or not.
mm.
I'm not really a person who in the public, but I like to be in the cave with a video game and a joystick. But some sometimes I'm on the podium and I'm either preaching or I'm teaching on track or I'm doing something. How I delegate my time is basically all by now is by time, and that's why before I mentioned structured, I was kind of testing that out, and it's been doing well. I like the developer and the way he's doing it. he's been able to sync his app with reminders so that when you check them off, they check off on reminders, and
Right.
reminders can be synced off of my note because they communicate back and forth. So if I check something off on structured, it checks off on others and it checks off on my mind map. So that
Wow.
even if it's in a project, it goes all the way through. But yes, context is not as important to me as where I'm at because I'm only in three places. I'm either at home, I'm at the track, or I'm at work,
Mhm.
you know?
Right,
Or
right,
my,
right. Sure, I hear you, and I also don't do everything by the book, so to speak, when it comes to GTD. For example, there are folks who, like you said, I also used to be super specific with clarifying my tasks from the inbox, and I would add energy levels, I would add time estimates. Well, I still do at this point, but I also actually gone into time blocking like you more recently. Plus, prioritizing the exact context. Now, in my case, I use a lot of different software. So for me, it's a whole different type of world almost when it comes to context. I actually distinguish my to-dos by the software I need.
yeah,
Instead of
yeah,
just saying computer, I try to bundle tasks that I have to do in WordPress, my website, or obviously recording videos and programming
yeah,
or you name it.
yeah.
And the one thing I do hear about what you're saying is the focus area comes first. And yet, I'm still wondering whether you perhaps have an opportunity to win back some of that precious time by bundling tasks by contexts, perhaps more specific ones, if possible, while still retaining that hierarchy. Because if you, for example, allocate time to focus area one, and there are three different tasks with different contexts as well, you're essentially running around a lot in between those tasks,
Mhm,
in
mhm,
theory, of course.
mhm,
But if you were able to do these tasks all in one go and serve different focus areas, but down the line still have the hierarchy fulfilled as you had in mind,
mhm.
perhaps that could help you save
Yeah.
some of that time.
One of the most important apps I forgot to mention to
Mm,
me was also Day One. My heart has changed as I get older. You know, as I'm pushing closer to 50,
mm,
this technology, I know that I'm losing grasp of where the next generation is coming up. They're going to be onto this new thing, and I'm not going to be able to hold on to the edge, the bleeding edge, like the rest of this generation is. So my primary concern right now, as at the age that I am right now, is capturing what I do have and the
mhm,
loved ones that I do have. So day one, I try to dump all of my information that I get, my fitness pal that I use for my fitness, my aura ring, my sleep, my eating habits, the time management. I try to dump that into day one so that I don't get it done all the time. Maybe I do it maybe once a week so that at the end, so in reflection, when it goes back, day one has this thing where it shows you what you were doing at, at certain times of the year. You get to sit back and you get to see. When you interview these people who are coming up, chances are you probably have a different demographics of age. Some of them will be 28, 29, and 30. A lot of people who are in this platform now are YouTubers and they're up and coming. They have their own businesses like you, and they're trying to platform on their business. I'm going to be a different breed because I'm not trying to start a business and I'm not try to delegate the finances or anything like that. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to capture my life to its fullest.
mhm,
And so that I could give this so that if I were to die today, I could have something that my children will be able to hold on to and to management because most of everybody's stuff is captured right now is captured in social media,
mhm,
right? It's your Instagram and it's in your Facebook, it's in your TikToks or whatever, but I want a personalized journal. And I think this is where the second brain hit came in and also too, that your phone is not just your phone or your computer, it's your journal. It's your blueprint of who you are and what interests you. And now for me, my time management, my videos, my likes of life. You think of people like Elon Musk, and if you could have anything of Elon Musk, what would you have? You probably have his phone, because if you captured his phone, these are the things, his thoughts, his mind, this is where it's all captured. But yeah, I'm at this time, at this place in my life, and maybe it's because, like I said, my mother's losing her memory, my father's losing his mobility,
Mm,
that I'm trying to capture them and my family at the very most that I can,
of
you
course.
know,
Yeah.
and trying to review that and trying to get things done in that manner. I do have a context. I do put like under the envelope of phone, I'll put
Mhm.
like if I have to make a phone call, I'll chart off like in half an hour and say, or an hour and says, hey, I got 6 phone calls to make. You
Mhm.
know, I'll try to make those phone calls in there. You know, or if I'm saying I'll put errands and I put if I'm leaving the house everything I pull up that I'm leaving for the errands, like I gotta go to drop something off with Amazon or something like that, I put it under errands. So I do use the old school a little bit.
Sure.
So
No, that's that. But you know what? Don't worry about doing it exactly by the book. Like I don't do GTD by the book either.
hmm
I run a kind of hybrid system of GTD and building a second brain. Perhaps you can call it my own system at this point. And I feel like everybody has and should actually just find what works best for you. And you said it yourself
hmm
very well by phrasing it as a diet, because I do feel that is very appropriate to name it. It's basically a diet where you all have everybody has personal preferences and personal needs, perhaps
hmm
certain, allergies, and that's actually one of my our question at which is you've expressed during this call as well as in your submission multiple times now that TickTick, while the functionality is great, the design
Yes.
does bug you, and I do agree with it. Now, my personal evaluation has been I'm gonna sacrifice the design for functionality. I'm okay with it not looking as good as Things 3 like you've
Yeah.
like to do,
Yeah.
for example. But I wanna ask you, does the design make you not use TickTick as much as you could, if you're being honest with yourself?
Well, I do like the fiddle, and I like folders within folders within folders. That's why Todoist was such a beautiful. My mind works like a mind map, so I like to put things within things within things within things. And I think Todoist was it was perfect. And when I saw you going over Todoist, when I first started looking at your videos, I was like, "Wow, this looks like it works." And then I saw you transfer over to TickTick, and I was like, "This works even better because TickTick captures the envelope for everything, right?" And I think even when it comes to habits, like I have hours and right now in TickTick, I have like 200 hours recorded
Mm.
in just like listening to on I record my books. So I put like, the little timer app they
Yep.
have there for you time. So I put it so I got my books and I listed my Bible on there. The one thing I love about them, and this is why I really might go back to them. I'm on the beta platform also to beta testers. They are always innovating. They're always updating and always like bringing new stuff to the platform. And I'm like, I love that. I don't mind paying the subscription because they're pouring into this application. And I love that.
Yeah.
So Todoist, I like Todoist. They actually bled into Sorted 3. They have an integration
Mm.
to where you can move their stuff into Sorted. And what Sorted 3 does, you mash a little button and it finds time gaps for you with the AI and puts it in there automatically. But that's the only option I have. What else do we have? I mean, we don't have anything else. I mean, you do have Notion and you do have ClickUp and all these things, but who wants to spend your life trying to get that set up right? You know?
Right. This is also
Uh,
my biggest criticism of many apps themselves. In the end, a lot of these apps are designed, sure, to help you get more productive. Sure, I'm buying that. But unfortunately, a lot of them also have a component of kind of trying to suck you in to use
yeah,
the app as much as possible. And
yeah,
the reason
yeah,
simply, the more you are invested into an app, the more information you've got on there, the more workflows you've delegated into there, the
yeah,
more you're habitualized to use the app, the more likely you are to remain a paying customer, right? In the
yeah,
end, these apps also
yeah,
have a business model and it relies on our usage of them. So I am always very weary when it comes to apps that have thousands of features that they
yeah,
really push you to use all of them. No, I wanna get things done essentially
Yeah,
as
yeah,
quickly as possible. And these apps are there to support us. They provide a visual representation of what needs to be done. But a lot of people, I feel like they do what I call fake productivity, ticking off check boxes isn't
yeah,
equal to doing the work. Now, it can be a
yeah,
representation of the work you've done, sure, but you shouldn't, like you've said, spend so many hours continuously tweaking and optimizing. Now, I'm lucky; I do enjoy that, fiddling. It's all fine, and I am doing this as a job actually, so I have to watch
mm,
myself to make sure not to forget all this. But you're right. You just want to have a system that supports doing what is important to you. And I think you've
yeah,
illustrated that beautifully with capturing the moments that matter, for example. I do think, like you also said, we can consolidate at least some of the functionality in the tick tick. However, if the design is a deal breaker, because I do agree, like the design, the aesthetics are important. You do want to look forward to
yeah.
using the app and not kind of dread it because that's just going to no longer trust system, for example, and not using it as much as you should perhaps, that's also problematic.
I really, I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
I really appreciate the hard workers like yourself who goes, I just don't have the time
right.
to sit down and to break it down like you do. I'm not saying that you have the time, but I'm saying that you put in the work so that I don't have to put in a lot of work.
Right.
I kind of made up my mind a little bit this morning when I was using an app. I'm gonna call it out. I was using an app called Bright,
Mm,
and the app is so beautiful, but the bugs galore. You just said something to me just a minute ago. You said that, a lot of these guys are just checking off boxes. And I'm like, yeah, I think this is what these people are doing. And
mm,
I'm not snubbing the developer team. I'm not saying that they're not wrong for doing these things, but I consider myself an honest consumer. That if you tell me that you have a habit tracking app, then I want to be able to track my habit like properly,
mhm.
through the months and through the years, Pandora technique on there, or that I've time. I want to be able to do it properly without it breaking the app,
Right.
and
Right.
so I think he was interviewing Forte one time, and he was saying something like he doesn't get on an app unless the app is 10
Yep,
years old.
he did. He
So
did say that, yeah, and I do understand more and more as I'm getting into more and more apps myself, reviewing them. Like you said, I do this for a living so that others like you don't have to. Like, I found my passion in helping people optimize productivity, and so based on one of your recommendations, actually, yeah, that was you. You said also in the comments you recommended Bright, so I checked it out just 2 weeks ago, I believe. I did
Mhm.
a quick scan to see, is this good enough to become a YouTube video? I've uploaded dozens of tutorials. Well, believe me, I've checked at least 5 to 10 times more tools than I've actually uploaded because there's a strict kind of barrier to entry.
Mhm.
I don't just want to promote any app to get
That's
views. I
right.
want to provide high quality that I believe actually can work for people. So, like you said with Bright, I also loved how it looks, but I also hated the bugs. There's so many of them. It's just,
Man, oh
it's
my
not ready.
God.
It's not
It's
ready.
not
So,
ready. It's not. It's
yeah.
not. It's not. It's not. As a closer, man, as a closer,
Yeah.
I found a feature that I didn't know that I wanted is that
Mm,
they had a feature on, well, they had the sub box within the sub box within the sub box. I love that feature.
right.
And to do said it too, but
Yep.
they have this feature that has a background. You could put a background to your task. And I've been using an AI elemented art,
Ooh.
and I've been playing with AI art so much now that I have some beautiful, like, so I put projects and I put this AI art in the background, and it made me feel really good about it. I'm like,
Wow.
my God. Oh, maybe I should suggest that to the beta team at TikTok or something like that. The Kanban view is a view that I'm just getting into.
Mm,
Absolutely love it.
mm.
Absolutely love it. The thing I like, Brighthead did it right as far as checking off the Kanban view. When you check off something, it goes directly into the completed or it goes into the next phase. Um, I'm not sure about when TickTick did it. You have to physically move the task over to the next section, right?
What we call that is a sequential project, essentially, right? You have
Uh,
different
uh,
phases in a project
yeah.
and you have these dependencies. So a task is not available until a previous task is complete. And you can
Mm,
certainly use Kanban to kind of have a visual overview of the tasks by
okay,
their
gotcha,
phase.
gotcha.
But unfortunately, and if TickTick implements this, they're going to be the
Man, who you telling me?
nobody's gonna beat them, right? But no, they don't. So, yeah, you do have to manually move it over, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So what I
yeah,
do, I'd use the different tags, like the next tag to
okay,
indicate tasks that are actually available, but I do have to manually add the tag once I've completed tasks that are in, like, phase 1. But
yeah,
then when I complete it, I'll always kinda click on the project it's associated with to see, "Hey, is there anything else that needs to be done in phase 1 before phase 2 becomes available in the Kanban view?" So, yeah, I'm a heavy user, but like you said, there's manual work involved still, which is
yeah,
unfortunate, but, hopefully they're listening and,
yeah, yeah,
would love to
yeah,
see it. But as like a tool that does have this is Asana, for example, or
mm,
GTD specific tools like Nirvana and Everdo comes to mind. But they also have flaws. Like Asana is actually super expensive for personal use. Other than that,
yeah,
I think it's really good. And other tools like Nirvana just miss out on a lot of the features that we also love about TickTick, like the timers, the notes, the
yeah,
habits view, just to name a couple things. So unfortunately, we're still at a place where you're going to be very lucky if one single app is going to serve all your needs. But based
yeah,
on what you've told me here, I do think we can get some wins here, at least in terms of, kind of consolidating it into one system, making it a bit simpler, making it a bit easier, and hopefully faster to use so that you can spend more time, obviously, doing what you feel like you need to do instead of fiddling around with the app all day.
yeah, excellent, excellent, excellent.
Yeah, man.
I look forward to it, and yeah, really do appreciate you taking the time out and to walk me through. I'm very, very appreciative of everything that you're going through with this. I mean, and I know that going forward, I know that you're going to be able to. This is an exchange because I know that you know as you get older, as your family grows, and as you connect with your loved ones and stuff too. Not only are you going to help them to be more productive, but you're also going to have help them capture the most important things. Because at the end of the day, I tell my runners, we ran for nationals this weekend, and one of my runners were an excellent national runner. And they asked me, they said, "Hey, how did you think I ran?" And I said, "Well, you tell me, how much did you give?" And she said, "I gave 90%." And I said, "Well, are you satisfied?" She says, "Well, not really." And then my response to her was that then my response is irrelevant. You have to give 100%, and as human beings, we've lost the art of giving our all to anything and everything. You have to love 100%. You're going to have to put 100% in your effort, in your job, in your worship, wherever it is that you do. And we don't do that no more. So it's something it's something that I want to um you know give to this next generation also too. It's
Mm,
like, listen, just hey, give your all, give all of
yeah.
it to it. So
It's beautiful, man. I
but
appreciate that. And, I consider myself, a mostly how type of guy. Like there are people who can give me a strong why. I have a couple of
mhm.
friends around me that are
Yeah,
able to kind of
yeah,
plant those seeds. I mean, I feel like you might also be one of those people because what you just said is so, beautiful and well spoken and inspiring to hear as well. I totally agree with what you're saying. Like give it your all, give it 100%. At the same time, then I immediately transition to okay, what can I do to help achieve that mission, achieve that goal for
yes,
people, right? And,
yes,
and that's what
yes,
I'm trying
yes,
to do with my
yes.
work that I'm doing, right? Because I feel like a major ingredient in making this difficult for people is that a lot of people are just overwhelmed. They're overloaded with
Mm,
input from
yeah,
all sides that they don't know how to deal with. They don't even know where to start. So I try to help people create kind of an organizational system in their lives. And all these tools, they are just options. I try to show how you can use them in the best way possible if you feel like that's the right
yeah,
way for you to
yeah,
use them,
yeah,
and kinda
yeah,
help, contribute something to achieve
yeah.
that goal because I think it's a very
You're
true and prudent statement, so thank you for
you're my
that.
edit you are my editor. You're my editor. My book listen, my book is already written. My book is already written. You're just editing it and showing me how I can present it better.
I
So,
appreciate that, man.
yeah,
Appreciate
man,
it.
yeah.
Alright. Awesome, man.
Thanks again, Nolan, for sharing your beautiful story and how you're using various apps to try and achieve this mission in life
that you have, this feeling of responsibility you're trying to meet for the various focus areas you have in your life. It's very inspiring. I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels this way after having the conversation with you, or of course, after listening to it. The main takeaway I'm getting from what you've shared is that you are looking to free up more time in your somewhat rigid schedule you've created for yourself in order to be more flexible, in order to be able to respond better whenever an emergency or other unexpected events takes place. For this reason, my first piece of advice to you is not so much setup or tool based, but it is rather an invitation to use the tools you already have to manage and log your tasks. Then look back based on a days, weeks, or even months basis and do something that I call the Pareto exercise, based on Pareto's principle, which states that 20% of the input leads to 80% of the output, and vice versa, which means that a lot of us are spending 80% of our time focused on tasks that have very low return and might as well be ditched in some cases. If that is true for you as well, well, that is something you can discover by looking at the tasks you've performed and evaluating them. How much time did you spend? What was their return? And obviously you decide how to measure their return. It doesn't always have to be based on time, money, or other material things, of course. But I'm sure you have a certain measure to hold them against. Now, once you've discovered what is your 20%, think about what you want to do with the other 80% of input that doesn't have as high of a return. I'm sure you cannot ditch all of it. Perhaps, though, you can let go of some of it by either outsourcing it or finding another place for them. But importantly, then you should not fill it back up with other tasks, but rather use that free time to be able to respond to emergencies, to create more flexibility in your schedule while still focusing on high impact tasks. Now, once you've identified your high impact tasks, it is time to develop a technique for focusing on them to save even more time, because in the end, we all only have 24 hours in the day, and that is including sleep, of course. In your case, what you've done, Nolan, is take your areas of focus in your life and prioritize them, which I think makes a lot of sense. You want to be there for your family, you want to spend time devoting yourself to your faith, etc. However, you may find that even within these focus areas, you have different kinds of tasks that are performed. In our conversation, you mentioned you probably only have 2, 3, or 4 contexts, and that might be true on a zoomed out level. However, what I found for myself, for example, is that if I were to just take the computer context, I would basically no longer need any context, because that is where like 90% of my work takes place anyway. However, once I looked and realized that if I zoom in, I actually do have all these different contexts that require a shift of focus, such as recording, which is what I'm doing right now, for example, or writing, or coding, and various other states of operation, states of being that I might be in, places, tools, people, etc. By bundling those whilst taking into account the prioritization with your focus areas, you may find yourself running around back and forth less, whether that's physically or figuratively in your head, so to speak, and therefore keep the priorities that you've set, but also save time. In short, I invite you to research and discover whether you perhaps have some hidden contexts that can be as detailed as you want, as long as they apply to you, and test bundling those whilst respecting your priorities in terms of focus areas. When it comes to your setup, it looks like you've developed a solid tool stack for various things that are important to you, such as the Day One app for capturing important moments, the 1sec app for focusing, and of course, calendar plus reminders for time blocking. From a functionality perspective, I still think TickTick would be the best choice for you, since it includes routines, notes, capturing, and all kinds of other functionality that you are looking to integrate in your setup. However, you've mentioned it's ugly, and I do agree with that. Now, for me, that is not a deal breaker, but if that is a deal breaker to you, that needs to be respected, because in the end, you need to look forward to using your app and trust it as a digital second brain, and not dread it and constantly feel like there must be something better, I'm just going to stop using it or use it halfway. That only defeats the purpose. So instead of TickTick, I'm going to recommend you to try out one of the following two tools, which are actually also for the Apple ecosystem, including iOS. They are Things 3 and OmniFocus. Now, they are both powerful and they kind of compensate for each other's weaknesses from what I've seen. Things 3, for example, is a bit more minimal and it has a bit of a stronger note-taking functionality, whereas OmniFocus includes various perspectives that are strong for reviewing, as well as support for sequential projects, for example. Importantly, both of them allow you to organize your life by the various focus areas you've defined through folders or nested lists, as well as tags. And they also both allow you to set up routines, for example, for these reviewing habits you've mentioned, such as looking back on the day and asking yourself, did I do the hard thing? So it's going to be up to you to make that call. I invite you to watch my videos on both of them to see which one is the best fit for you. Did I do what matters? In the end, that is a powerful question to ask yourself, and you need to have a tool set that supports you in striving for this high level of productivity, of purpose as well. And I hope that my advice helped you move towards that direction. However, the point of this video is not for it to just end once playback is complete. It is also to invite you, the viewer, to provide any feedback you may have based on the story you've heard, based on advice I've given, and of course based on your own experience. If you are perhaps in a similar walk of life as Nolan, or if you've experienced similar challenges as him and you found a great tool or trick or method or whatever it is to solve for it, let us know in the comments, so that we are all helped with it, because I'm convinced that for every story we are hearing from any individual in this video series, there's at least thousands of them that are in a similar situation with similar challenges that will benefit massively from all of our inputs. So let's get this community going. Leave your feedback in the comments, and if you would like to participate in one of these videos in the future and walk us through your setup and challenges, you can apply through the link in the comments, submit the form, and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.